hear a lot of women say that they had an opinion on something, but then they didn't say anything. They didn't share it because they didn't want to upset anyone. They didn't want to rock the boat, right? Let's take a closer look at that and what might really be holding you back if that's you. So, if we haven't met before, my name is Christina and I help women find their words, feel heard, and step into their power. I've been in the self development world for over 15 years, and I'm passionate about teaching you the practical how to's of being assertive in a way that you can learn much faster than I did. So, one thing that I like to do on these videos is I like to ask, where in the world are you watching from? I'm based in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the United States, but I know anybody in the world could be watching. Germany, Chile, Argentina, all the things. I would just love to know, where are you watching from? It's just a fun thing that I like to do. So, looking at this whole topic of I don't want to rock the boat, I don't want to upset anybody, how what are different ways that people say this that I've seen over the years? And the different phrases I've seen people use are I don't want to inconvenience anyone, or I don't want to rock the boat. Mine personally was I don't want to sound like a bitch. I don't want to come across as rude. I don't want to seem a certain way. I had to do a lot of therapy around that, which is why I'm here talking to you today. Other things people say is, I know they're busy, so I won't say anything right now. Or I'll wait until such and such a thing happens before I say something. I'll wait until the school year is over before I ask them for something that I need. Things like that. And maybe even they'll probably say no, so I just won't ask because that's just a bother to them. They're already busy, all the things. Now, sometimes our hesitation and our wording isn't so precise. Sometimes it can look like, I'll talk to them later when they're free, or now's not a good time. I'll do it later. Or even, I'm not prepared to say what I need to say. I'll come back to this when I'm better prepared. So, do any of these sound familiar to you? Is it just me? Um, I mean, I know, like I said, between my family and close friends, I've heard phrases like this over the years, but I'm just curious, do these sound familiar to you? And if they do, leave a number one below if at least one of them does. I'm just curious. This is my informal, unscientific survey. Oh my goodness. Okay, now I want to look at some possible places that this is coming from. And again, I've done so much inner work, so I know where my um, originators are, like where these worries and anxieties and hesitations are coming from, and also what I've seen with women who I've coached and who I've talked to. There seems to be a fear of overall, this is, I think, the number one thing is there seems to be a fear around another person's response. They don't know how they're going to respond, so then they automatically think like it must be the worst thing in the world. Um, there's also a fear of rejection. What if they say something? What if they make a request and the other person says no? And in extreme cases, this can go into more like um, not just rejecting the request, but what happens if then they reject me? Or does it mean that they don't like me or they're rejecting me? It can go much further than that. Then there's, along those same lines, fear that someone will think less of you because you made a vulnerable request. Maybe you're thinking like, I asked for something, I wasn't sure how they were going to respond, and maybe they were like, and now what? What are they going to think of me? They're going to think less of me. All these internal things, all of that. Okay. For me, I'm going to be vulnerable for a second. I was anticipating some sort of huge explosion if I rocked the boat or if I was like a bitch. It was something I had learned earlier in my life through different experiences and also coupled with my natural tendencies and my personality. So it was just like, don't say anything, don't upset the other person, don't rock the boat, don't be a bitch. I learned it. That's essentially how I learned it, and it took me years to get over it. And so what I'm wanting to do for you is I'm wanting to illuminate the fact that this is a thing and maybe what we can do with this. And so what I've brought 4 tips to help move you past this feeling of I don't want to rock the boat, I don't want to all those things. 4 tips. So, my first one is lead with a non threatening question. And what that looks like is asking something. I remember, okay, I originally, I learned this in a different context, but this is very relevant here today. If you are thinking of approaching someone and you're wondering if they might, it might be a big response or you might not like what they say, lead with something that's totally innocent. So I remember getting the training around how would you ask someone if they wanted a stick of gum? You would just say, do you want a stick of gum? And the person says, no, thank you. And you say, okay, cool. That type of non threatening energy question, that's what we want to channel. We want to say, do you have a moment for me to ask you a question? Or even, is this a good time to talk about whatever it is? I feel like a lot of this hesitation comes from where we are with our own head, and we're like, I mean, I don't know what they're going to say. Do they have time? Do they But are we even asking them? Is now a good time? Are you open to receiving my question? Ask them something like, is now a good time to talk? Do you mind if I ask you a question? That is different from, I remember, I gained this bad attachment to we need to talk. Drop a number 2 down below if you're thinking like, yeah, whenever somebody says we need to talk, like that's horrible. That it must mean the end of the world. What if instead of saying we need to talk, what if you said, can I ask you a question? Again, a non-threatening question. So my second tip, be prepared ahead of time with something that you want to say so that when the person asks what's going on with you, they are literally asking you for your input. They want to know. They are open to receiving. And they're literally asking. There's no better time than when someone says, what's new with you? Or what's going on? Is there anything you'd like to tell me? This one I struggled with because I was like, oh, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready to say something. Be prepared. Be prepared so that when someone says, hey, what's up with you, you know what's up. And it doesn't have to be, confrontational or anything, but you just know what you want to talk about. It helps a lot. I'm going to tell you that. It helps a lot. My number three tip: get clear on your minimum outcome or what you need to get out of the conversation. Maybe you're thinking it's a big ask, it's a huge, like, and you don't want to say no, or maybe you need to provide feedback or something. Get clear on the very minimum thing that you need. And so this could be, we could have whatever conversation and all of this, and basically at the end of the day, it's like, I just need to know if they can help me, or I just need to know if they're open to talking. Very, very bare minimum. And I think what that does is it gives us then the perspective of, all I really need is a yes or a no. Is that really that big of a deal? Is it as big of a deal as we think it is? Right? Number three, share a little bit of your hesitation with them. Be vulnerable. I've been meaning to ask you something, and I just need to say that I have some butterflies in my stomach just by mentioning it. Be vulnerable. Say, there is something on my mind. I'm having a little bit of a hard time. I just want you to know that. I'm going to tell you right now from my own experience, and when I've coached people along these lines, when you lead from a vulnerable or a real place, they then kind of open up to you and they come into the vulnerability with you. It's a huge, huge help. Then from there, based on their response, you can say, like, okay, so here's what I'm thinking, or here's something I've been wanting to share with you, depending on their response. And if they seem closed, if they seem like, no, they don't want to hear it, then essentially that it now's not the right time, but you're kind of testing the waters. So if any of those four tips sit with you, or you think you want to use them, I would love to hear about it. Or if you're thinking like, yeah, maybe next time I'm going to try tip number one or tip number four, send me a message. Send me a direct message. Let me know. Because I'm really, really curious after going all four of those. Now, if any of those four resonate with you, I have a free guide that can kind of help you move through this threshold. I created a guide that contains 5 powerful affirmations to help you speak more confidently, to cross over the threshold of, like, oh, I want to, but, you know. So the link for that is christina-solis.com/affirm. And again, that is just my free resource that has 5 powerful affirmations to speak confidently, find your voice, and get over that threshold. Again, that's christina-solis.com/affirm, and I will put that in the comments for easy reference. All right, I hope this video was helpful and maybe you can move forward in spite of feeling like you might rock the boat or things like that. All right, talk to you soon.